Are you wondering if you need a UX research portfolio to get a job? And if you do, what does that even look like? Then check out this video and I'll answer all your questions. My name is Lindsay Lachelet and I've been a UX researcher for about 10 years now. I started this channel to help junior and aspiring researchers get more skills, learn more things so that they can get great UX research jobs and have better impact. So the first question, do you even need a UX research portfolio? The answer is you don't need one, but it might help you get jobs. And there are certain companies that do want to see a portfolio. They might require one when you submit your resume. They may ask for one when the hiring manager calls you, that kind of a thing. A lot of companies do prefer to see a portfolio. So it's possible to get hired without one, but it does give you a little bit of a leg up. And if it just takes a few hours of work ahead of time, and that might bump up your chances of getting a particular job that you really want, then it seems worth doing the work to me. Your portfolio doesn't have to be a website. It can also be a PDF. You can create a presentation and then export it and send them that file. It's a good idea to have something that you can send when you submit your resume or when the recruiter calls you, something like a website link or a PDF. And it's also a good idea to have a presentation of one of your case studies or one of your projects in a little more detail with a little more context, so that if they do want to invite you in and part of that interview process is a portfolio review, you'll already have that all ready to go and you don't have to take the time to create that into consideration when you're scheduling the interview. You can get that scheduled as soon as possible. It's also good to have a portfolio because your resume really needs to be as tight as possible and focused on specific achievements, specific impacts that you've had on the client whenever possible. It can be things like setting up a research repository or even just starting the research, but the resume really is bullet points, very high level stuff. With your portfolio, you can give a little more data around your sort of viewpoint of UX, how you think about research, why you've made the decisions that you made to really show that you know what you're doing. Portfolios are also great for people who are a little more junior in the field. They can be used to show that coursework for maybe a certificate or a boot camp or even a degree program is actually robust, was good research, you had a large hand in that. And then that goes as well for freelance. Maybe you only worked with a client for a couple of months, but with a portfolio, you can really show that even in that 2 months, you had a huge impact on their product and you really helped them out, which is what companies want. They want someone who can help them out, and the quicker the better, really. Now you've decided you're gonna go ahead and do that portfolio. Here are some of the mistakes that I've seen in UX research portfolios and some tips. So the first one isn't the worst of the worst. You can definitely get away with this, but it's making your portfolio a little too visually designed. If you make it look too much like a visual designer's profile, then some people, they sort of want their researchers to be less visual designy, in my experience. You still want it to look relatively good, but you don't want it to look cutting edge. You don't want it to look too trendy. You want them to be able to focus on the content of the portfolio rather than the way that it sort of looks. The next mistake is basically the opposite, which is not enough consideration of the visuals. People like pictures. They like visual representations of things, and so it is important to have those in there whenever you can. And that can sort of show what you're talking about. If you say that you analyzed a survey, you can show one of the survey questions and sort of how it came out. You can definitely include charts, you can include graphs, you can include sketches if you've got them. It doesn't have to be sort of final designs, but you do want to have something visual in there to kind of break up the words that you're going to have on the page for sure. Another thing I see in portfolios is that they don't seem to take the audience into account. Hiring managers often are only taking a few minutes to look at your portfolio. So you want to make sure that you give them the important information right up top, lay it all out, and then go into a little more detail further down so that if they do have time to dig in, they can. One thing that hiring managers may do with a portfolio is they're looking to see what projects they may want to ask you about in an interview. So it's good to really grab their attention right up top with what's interesting about that particular project. So for example, on my portfolio, I had a project where the delivery method was a workshop, which is unusual. And so that was literally the title of the project piece, Workshop as a Delivery Method. It wasn't about the subject of the research. Another big issue that I've seen in all portfolios that I've reviewed, this goes for UX research and UX design, is that the person doesn't highlight what their particular contribution to the project was. They use a lot of "we did this" and "we did that." When it's a class project, it's great to give credit, as much as possible to your teammates. You really want to emphasize team effort. We all did this. We all deserve an awesome, amazing grade. But when it's your portfolio, you're really talking about yourself. And so you want to emphasize what you did. Did you determine the criteria for the participants, and you created the survey, and you reviewed the results, and you contacted the participants? Or did you just create the survey in SurveyMonkey and that's kind of it? You want to be really specific, hopefully about the things that you are really proud of having done, or the things that you really think that you did well. You can certainly say, I collaborated with the designer on this, but you do want to say more I, less we. And the final and biggest mistake that I see people make is that they see them as presenting the results of the research. And that is not at all what you're doing. The hiring manager, the people in the interview don't really care about the results of the research. That's not why they're hiring you, because you got these particular results. This is not a results presentation. It's about the process of the research. Who did you do research with and why? What methodology did you choose and why? What went wrong and why? How would you make that different in the future? What was the challenge of this research and how did you work around it? What were some of the constraints? Did you have to do it in 2 weeks? Did you have to do it with absolutely zero budget whatsoever? You really want to focus on communicating to the hiring manager what they're looking for, which is that you know why you made the choices that you made in your past research, and that you were able to grow in doing that research, so that when you're doing research for their company, they know that you'll also be able to learn new things, grow with them as well, get better and better, and also that you know what you're doing. So that's why I believe you should have a research portfolio, absolutely. And some of the mistakes you should definitely avoid. If you liked this video, go ahead and hit a like down below. And if you have any ideas or questions that can go in a future video, definitely leave a comment. Thanks.